What up, y'all? It's Paul, formerly known as Looney. Uh, done poems on here. I've told you my past, family history, prison shit. Like I said, I don't know what the hell this is, man. I'm gonna do something different every time. Anything that I think's like speaks to people, or you know, what I mean, one of the things. Oh, I've had a video where I sort of break down like my spiritual beliefs and things like that. Uh, and a lot of that, man, is knowledge. I've always had like a handful of things I believed in: fate, karma, shit like that. And as time's gone by, every time I've made a huge self-sacrifice on somebody else's behalf, it seems like my mind's expanded, and I don't know, I've just had these enlightenments and a little bit more understanding every time. I watch these videos of people on ayahuasca and different things like that, and what's crazy is like the standard of belief they've come to by going down that path, which I've had some intricate trips on like acid and stuff, but never nothing like this. Never nothing this profound like I'm about to talk to today, uh, where I feel I went to hell in a dream, like I really do. Felt like a power dream, man, and it's had more of an profound effect on me and was so more real than any trip or anything I've ever had. Uh, so anyway, that's what we're gonna be talking about today, man. As I've talked about in the past, I've done a lot of whole time over the years, but I did a long ass stretch uh for two back to back assaults on cops. I was already in the hole for one. I sat for a couple years. I had to do a program for violent offenders to get out of the hole. And during that time, the Mexicans were at war, and we had a group that we roll with, and so I already knew what time it was. Long story short, I've already said in my other videos, we come out of cuffs. I end up stabbing one of the SIR team, uh, and got 3 more years in the hole. So yeah, I did all my whole time for a reason for the most part. I had some dumbass reports, which I'll talk about in a video one of these days too. I'll also talk about some of my trips, that I've had not all that long ago. Um, but this particular one, man, this particular vision and shit I had, it didn't have anything to do with drugs. I was fasting and shit. And I kept asking. I was asking, the gods and shit for uh, to open my eyes to show me some kind of vision to I'm really into the old Norse runes and I was asking any kind of sign, any kind of, I just needed some kind of enlightenment at that time because I wasn't even sold on whether or not I was coming back out to this world or just gonna stay in there where everybody knew me and respected me, man. And I'd spent so many years on that already, you know what I mean? And I really didn't have no anchor out here. But it was the runes that sort of led me and pushed me into coming out here too, and pushed me into where I came to where I ended up having the 2 kids I had, and shit, I didn't think my shit swam all these years. But anyway, another story, another time. It's sort of interrelated, but yeah, to where my mindset was at that time, man, because I went in there when I stayed at a cop that day. I went in there to pretty much kill the inmate that I was fighting. I know it sounds harsh and crazy, but when you're in that world, some of us, when we're in it, we're in it. You know what I mean? When we ain't, we ain't. And that's what I told all my people in there, man. You got me till the day I leave this motherfucker. Once I leave, I'm doing me for once. And I'm tired of this shit. I'm gonna legitly try something else, or else I'm not even leaving this motherfucker. So anything you want, y'all get out of me now. So anyway, that's where I was. I'm begging for answers. I was doing lots of fasts, man. I would go, and it sounds crazy. There's different types of fasts, not just not eating. I was, going a month without fucking masturbation, which may sound crazy to some people, but when you're sitting in a cell for a month by yourself and you got nothing but time to work out, and you know what I mean, it's a hard thing not to do that. But when you make, with me, my word is my bond, man, or I try as hard as I can to always abide by that, and especially when I make pact with the gods and higher power to be whatever. Um, so I would make these pacts and shit, man, and I'd ask for answers, and I'd do that. I'd go long periods of time without eating and shit. I think my longest food fast was 9 days and 9 nights without food and water. I study a little bit of all religions. I don't really adhere to one, but I'm inspired a lot by the path of Odin. He was a god of self-sacrifice and war, which used to be my path. And in the end of his journey and his story, it wasn't really war. He was sacrificing himself for knowledge and his people and everything else. Um, the wars and all that shit was just a path to get him there. And we all have our teachers, man. We all have different paths that teach us different lessons. And that was just the one I had to go down. So I identified with him. And every religion, every one of these gods, the big figures I see, and I've talked about in other videos, but they're all gods of self sacrifice, man. And for the greater good. And it makes sense that we all be that way for the simple fact that this shit ain't permanent. Every one of us has a due date. So why not, in the meantime, sacrifice as much of yourself as humanly possible to whatever you love, to whoever you love. You know what I mean? Be it, reaching enlightenment, or just self-understanding, self-awareness, which a majority of the first part of my life was all about that, man. I spent so many years just in the hole as a child and every fucking thing. And doing it the hard way. I had no direction. I had none of that. So it was all, just finding myself. Uh, and now, it's family and my kids and trying to inspire other people and figure it out along the way. Still running into struggles every day. But hey, what don't kill you make you stronger, Homer. So anyway, during this time, I went to hell, man. I truly believe it. It was the most powerful fucking dream I've ever had in my life. And so I'd been fasting nonstop, like a few days here. I'd eat a day, do another few days. Like I said, I did the 9 day one. I'd work out vigorously and sweat and just like push myself. And one night I go to sleep and, I had been asking for like some kind of sign. I kept thinking dreams, like I was going to have a powerful dream, even though I wasn't prone to that. I don't know what the fuck kept making me, but that's the way I was going. And then one night I did. One night I wake up and I'm in hell. Now, let's give a little background story of hell real quick because I don't think most people are only familiar with the term from Christianity, which is not even a Christian fucking term whatsoever. It wasn't, not originally. It's from fucking the old Norse Viking religions and shit, old Scandinavian religions. And hell was ran by the goddess, I guess you'd call her, Hela, which was Loki's daughter. And he had bred with some old hag witch chick or something like that. It was supposed to be, evil and, sort of darker spirited like him. And she was like half corpse, half beautiful woman. And from everything I understood, she hadn't done nothing wrong. But she scared the shit out of all the guys and made them uncomfortable and stuff. So, to sort of honor her because she hadn't done nothing wrong, but get her the hell out of the way, they sent her to rule the realm of hell. And she later punished them for that by, I don't know, okay, I think it was Bolger, the god of light, like Odin and Frigga's most beloved son, who was like supposed to be the bright one, who everybody loved, nature, everything was attracted to him. Loki was envious and tricked somebody into killing him, and he goes to hell for some reason, which I never understood and is not explained good enough in the lore. A lot of shit I think got lost along the way. But however, he goes down there and instead of going to one of these higher realms, afterlife realms that they talk about in the same religion. He goes down there. Odin travels to hell and tries to get him released, and she wasn't going for it. So, uh, and they say when like end times come, and then there's supposed to be like a new revival of life or a different world or something like that. He's supposed to be one of them that comes back, and I think her as well. But anyway, um, yeah, it's Norse. It's named after her. All of that is Norse. None of that has anything to do with Christianity. Much like a lot of other shit they done took and implemented into their concepts in order to like, bring people of that order and that religion in and whatnot back then and help them adapt and whatever. But uh, in hell, their concept of hell was basically just a place in between reincarnation. There's a little bit of suffering explained, but not much. However, I come to like get even a different aspect of that, but I mean, it was still closer to them than what the Christians talk about. The Christians took their hell, their place, and then like Dante's Inferno or some shit, and like combined them, and now use it as a scare tactic against people. But the original word, plays, concept, all of that was not Christian. So anyhow, I wake up and I'm in this place. It's like an underground dungeon almost, except for like people weren't tied up or strapped to nothing. There was like concrete benches and a concrete floor and all that. Everything was concrete. And there was people everywhere. They're on the benches, they're on the floor, and they all seem to be in like a dream state, like a nightmare state though, screaming and crying and pleading and shit like that. So yeah, that sounds sort of like the Christian concept a little bit, except for like, and then there wasn't no hell and fucking internal furnace or fire and damnation and all that shit, unless it was in their minds, unless that was a metaphor for that. Now the thing is the Norse, they do have a place like that called Niflheim. Now Niflheim is where like all the most vile fucking energy and creatures and everything are said to go and suffer. And the funny thing is, instead of fucking hell and fire and damnation, it's internal bitter fucking cold and misery, and it's almost the opposite, which is weird. I mean, the suffering's still there, obviously. But what up, kitty? So then, yeah. Anyway, but now hell, that wasn't really a place of suffering. It was just in between reincarnation, which I have a better understanding of that just because of my dream now. And it's anyway. So I wake up. It's this concrete fucking shit, which I felt at home with because I was already in prison. I'd already been locked up in environments like that my whole life. The different people laying around doing all that, probably a shock at the time. I don't remember that. I remember just walking along. There was one person that was still conscious. Normal looking dude, seemed about my age. Started talking to him like we knew each other forever. It seemed like I was just walking with him, talking with him. And at one point, our arms touch. And when that happens, I'm transported from there to like what seemed like maybe a fucking, I say graveyard, but it was a massive pile of bodies, high as fuck. And I had like visions of flaming pentagrams and shit like that, and I could smell the fucking blood. I could taste it. I could fucking, my heart was beating, and that shit was kind of scary. And that's kind of like I guess the hell version of the Christians talk about shit. I guess to an extent, I still don't know what to make of that. Later on after I woke up and thought about it, man, I've had all kinds of theories. At one point, I thought maybe that was all my past lives, all the past me's. But anyway, let me get a little bit further in. So I go from that and seeing that and it being so real, the smells, the feels, the everything. I go from that and then suddenly I'm back in this concrete shit and me and dude are sitting there, we both come out of it like a fucking head rush. I was like, what the fuck was that? And he's like, he was clearly affected too. Did all that and he's like, man, I ain't had to experience that in a long fucking time. He's like, that's something from my past that I've blocked out, and I'm able to constantly block out. That's why I'm not in this state that you see everybody else around here. And I'm like, well, what is going on? And he's like, well, each and every one of them is having to experience something from their lifetime or lifetimes or whatever, that we all have, no matter how good of people we are, which I've been bad plenty in my life. I've done shit I ain't proud of and things like that. But so basically every single fucking one of us has done something that we got a guilty conscience about. And basically this is just time in between your next lifetime to reflect upon whatever you're fucked up about until you can come to terms with it, and then you move on. Well, he somehow learned, and to this day, I still trip out on who he was. In one of my earlier theories, I thought maybe it was another version of me, or it was like maybe one of my past lives where I accepted most of shit enough to move on, but I left like a little chunk of myself behind. Because there's been plenty of times, man, I'm starting to come out of it now, and especially when I reach the enlightened times, but when it's dark and shit like that, and I've been in lots of fights over the years, so I feel like my switch has been dimmed a little bit at times, man, where I don't feel quite alive, not like I did when I was, younger and shit. And I'm not just saying the body, like the mind, man. And I think it's because I've took a lot of fucking damage to the head over the years. Uh, but, and I'm not sure though, because when I reach these enlightened times and shit and different things, I don't feel that. I almost rise above it. And I've been getting healthier lately and tapping back in and pushing myself on shit that makes me feel uncomfortable. And I've been feeling a little bit more vital again. So anyway, uh, so yeah, we're walking, me and dude, and he's explaining this to me, and we suddenly come to a halt, and I'm like, "What's up? There's another room," and I was like, "What? You don't want to go in there or something?" And he's like, "No, I can't." I was like, "Why not?" He's like, "Because I choose not to experience or deal with my shit." Now, see, now though, I'm starting to get a different idea. Like, I almost feel like, okay, there's another being I run into here shortly, and it sort of felt more like God. And I'll tell you why, and you'll understand why in a minute. But I'm starting to think this guy was like the original. Like, he's so powerful, he's able to take on our form. This other one I run into a little while later, definitely powerful, but not able to do that, or didn't see the point in it or something. But anyway, so anyhow, what I'm thinking, man, because you gotta look at it like this. Look at how hard death and shit impacts us. So my view of God is that I believe in almost a Big Bang, but a conscious Big Bang. I think it was God. He was a perfect balance of good and bad, of negative and positive energy, which is the only thing that differentiates him from us. We have all the same powers and shit in us. The only thing is, we're not a perfect balance. That's something we got to really fight for, and that's what I think our reincarnation over and over is all about, is trying to reach that. You know what I mean? Or him working himself out by sacrificing himself over and over and over and over again. God made us in His image. That's even what the Bible says. And but I don't think it meant literally he's some old man fucking sitting up in the fucking clouds. I think it meant he imagined us to be, and so we was. He imagined everything to be, and so it was. But he sacrificed himself as this perfect being in order to be imperfect, in order to work shit out. And that's what we're all about, and that's what this is all about, man. And that's what us seekers are all about. So that being said, I almost feel like this was God, or the biggest chunk of it that was left is a whole being like kind of hiding in plain sight. and um and maybe all them bodies in that pile of bodies was like, that's his reflection of all these things that he created, that he loved, that died. And there's a reason for it, but at the same time, you know every being who's died has had, I guarantee you, even the evil motherfuckers throughout history had people that loved them, had good things about them, obviously, or they wouldn't have had so much of a pull. You know what I mean? Because for most of them to get in the position of power to do all this fucking violence and shit, they had to first have something attractive about them that got these armies, got this shit behind them. You know what I mean? And all this shit is things working itself out, I believe. So I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks that, I don't know, that might have been God, or I don't know. I'm still perplexed about that part. So anyway, he told me he couldn't move forward, but I should. I left him. I walk into the next room. The next room's weird. It's a big old empty motherfucking room. Spotlight on one center of the room. There's a big old fat, sloppy, fat, naked, unattractive chick laying in the middle of the room, butt naked. Now, it's a chick who I sort of knew. I think the only reason it ended up being her is because anybody who's done time, they know the one thing you're missing in there is female companionship. You know what I'm saying? If you're a heterosexual motherfucker, which half of them motherfuckers ain't, but if you are, it's one thing you're missing. So I mean, shit, you look at like this chick, who I'm referring to, who was in this dream. She worked around me in the hole. It was one of the few women that I had, some kind of contact with every day. And she wasn't even as nasty in real life as she was in this dream, but there was nothing attractive about her. She was miserable, always writing people reports and having shitty ass shit to say. And, people are already fucked up in the hole, you know what I mean? And ain't got much to look forward to. And you're going to dump on top of that. But, now in hindsight, at the time I didn't give a fuck because I was in it. In hindsight, I'm like, yeah, it's just a hurt fucking soul. It is what it is. But I think that's the only reason it was her in this dream, was because she was somebody who I had contact with at that time. But anyway, something told me that I needed to. I'm supposed to make love to this, so I did. And I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of fire. But like, I don't know. I knew when I was done, but it wasn't like a fucking orgasm. Uh, it was good leading all the way up to that, and then just when it was done, it was supposed to be done, and I knew it. So I got up, I left her, I went to the next room. The next room is these giant ass gates, man, made of wood and steel, and something like you'd see in the old movies, you know, with the wall guarding the fucking castle and the giant gate, and but even bigger. And on each side of the gate stood these massive fucking creatures. They had the bodies of humans except for like 5, 6 times the fucking size. They had heads and faces of like animals and shit. One was like part bird and fucking something else maybe. And then the other one, I can't ever really grasp in my brain, but I almost want to say like fucking like warthogish fucking I don't fucking know. But and they both had spears and shit and were just sitting there frozen. They didn't act like they was phased by me being there. I didn't even know if they was real at this fucking point, or if it's some kind of weird, very realistic fucking statue or what. It yeah. Anyway, so I walk up, I keep moving, I move right past them, I go up to the gate and I push on the motherfucker like it's gonna open, but it's like I knew it wasn't gonna, it don't. So then, and I'm big time into like the old runes and stuff, man. And the Elder Futhark to be specific. And I start focusing on these rooms, and I'm not sure which ones. It might even have been all of them. I know if this happened now, like I come across a gate, and if this shit happened in real time, I know I'd probably call on Rytho, which is the rune of movement. Uh, Maybe Laguz, which is natural fluid movement, life, energy, water. Um, just natural flow, which I would think would maybe, and then maybe like Kanaz, a guiding torch, or even so Wilo. Uh, so anyway, uh, I focus on the rooms. All of a sudden, you start hearing this loud screech as the door slowly pushes open. Both of these fucking creatures all of a sudden go crazy, start running around in fucking circles, yelling, "Impossible! Impossible!" Freaky as hell. As preposterous as the shit was, it was scary. So the door opens, and man, instantly I just feel this fucking energy, and I'm walking in, and I can feel this presence, which is bigger than anything I've ever felt before. And I instantly know it's a god or a more powerful being or something. And I mean, because this is the thing with my idea of, God sacrificing himself in order to make all these other things. Okay, well, that initial energy source before he sacrificed himself, which all these other gods and everybody seem to emulate, life forms who matter, I believe, because I think that's what we're supposed to do, is emulate the self-sacrifice. That's what it's all about. So anyhow, especially when you got a short-term life like this anyway. So, but I walk into this room, I feel by this fucking, this power and this energy, uh, and I'm trying to focus on it, and the room keeps sort of spinning, and which is kind of a common theme in some dreams I used to have when I was younger. They used to even make me fucking sick because they'd spin so much they make me dizzy. I'll get into that another time. So anyway, uh, it starts doing that, and this voice tells me, look, don't what I was saying though, on the mini god thing, be it angels, be it deities, be it whatever the fuck you want to call them. Okay, if you have a big bang, if you have this huge dispersal of energy, and it's more powerful than anything we know right now, it's what created all the first shit, any way, shape, or form. That's going to be, it's like a battery. If I tap a battery, it gets weaker and weaker as it gets tapped. So that first tap off it was probably so powerful that, yeah, it did make these powerful ass beings, which all our ancestors talk about. They call gods and angels and doors and elves and fairies and any other mythical creature you can think of. I think some of this shit was real, and it was just explained to the best of their capabilities. And you know, I think them deities, they play God, and well, it talks about it in our ancient philosophy and history books, and on religion and all that shit. And our ancestors weren't fucking crazy, man. But it talks about us going to war over our gods and shit like that. Like, so you can see, man, we can play God right now in a petri dish in a goddamn laboratory. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a more advanced, form of life, and I'm sure one of them figured out how to make another creature and wanted to play God and wanted something, you know what I mean? So, that being said, if one did it, and they're always talking about wars amongst the heavens and the angels and everything. So I can see if one doing it, another one getting jealous and say, okay, well here, and tweaking recipe a little bit and saying, oh, I made one too, and mine's better than yours. We'll give them swords. Let's see. And then you got all these. I think a handful of guys stepped up and did that around the fucking world, and we've made accounts of it, of us fighting over these gods and shit like that, trying to prove that our God was the God. And I don't think any of them was, but they were definitely more powerful fucking beings than what we are and what we experience to this day. Not saying there ain't remnants of that out there in other realms and shit like that, which I do believe. So anyhow, when I walked into this room, man, I was either in the presence of God or one of these deities that's a very powerful motherfucker. And it didn't feel threatening. It felt pretty inviting and powerful, man. And Long story short, it told me to quit focusing on it, that I wouldn't understand what the hell I seen, even if I could focus, and just, what do you want? And that's where I was fucked up, because even though I've been begging for like answers and these power dreams and shit, like I wasn't expecting this, and I didn't know what the hell to ask. And I'm like, okay, well, where am I? What's, you know what I mean? And what's going on? And he's like, some of it's self-explanatory, other of it's been explained, uh, through your journey through this realm. So, with time, more and more it makes sense and blah, 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 but you already have that answer. Next thing I know, I'm seeing a bright light. Uh, I'm feeling like joy and happiness and fear, and I'm thinking I'm being re-fucking born, because the next thing I remember and the last thing I remember in this dream is being in somebody's lap in a wheelchair, getting pushed out of a hospital like a fucking baby in their mom's fucking lap. And so uh, I think it symbolized my last reincarnation or some shit. I don't know. I don't know if that was my mother or a previous one or what. All I know is this dream felt so powerful, man. And so I figure I'd share it. I figure, there's been other people that have had these experiences, probably especially on drugs and shit. I was not. I was just doing a lot of fasting and seeking and self-searching, and, offering that to the guys for anything they wanted to give me, man. And I was not expecting that. But to this day, it's still so real to me. And so, yeah, it's interesting, cool dream story, whatever you want to call it. I feel like revelation. I feel like um say hello to Snowball. He's a needy little fucker, dirty Snowball. He's mostly white, got a couple little dirty spots on him, but he's a lovable boy, big old boy. Uh, so anyway, yeah. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. I don't know, that shit moved me, but I seen it. You know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe I educated you a little bit earlier on the hell thing, because a lot of people don't know that. I just studied so much shit in there because I didn't have nothing else to do. And, I am a spiritual person. I am a seeker. I've gone through a lot of shit, and I always want to, I'm looking for signs as not to why I went through. I feel like this: the more shit you go through, the deeper your journey's supposed to be. At least that's something to me that just feels right. So I'm always like pushing myself through bullshit and trying to be better than what I am, and uh, nowhere near perfection. I'll tell you that right now. But I'm always fighting to be better, man. And all of this is pieces of me, important parts of my life. At the very least, if nobody, I mean, obviously people are watching. I don't have a huge following yet. Who knows if I will? If I don't, I don't even give a shit, honestly. It just is what it is. But this is shit that touched me. Anything I'm talking about, shit I've learned lessons from, a different, path of learning, obviously. And, which I think that's just the way my brain is anyway. I don't learn easy, you know what I mean? So for all you other motherfuckers that don't, maybe you get inspired or see something in this that I didn't or don't or whatever. Who knows? But either way, hopefully you enjoyed it. And until next time, man, I love y'all. And shit, we're all on this journey together, man. We are, whether you like it or not. Whether we have direct inner fucking, or outer dialogue, and you know what I'm saying, fucking, it doesn't matter. We go through the same shit in different ways, different stories, different journeys, different lessons, different teachers, man. That's all there is to it. So that's basically, I think, my main thing is any unorthodox ass shit that I've been through that motherfucking learn from, and the lessons that I've learned that I can pass on, I want to do so. And even if this shit don't find other people, I think it will. It'll find who it's supposed to. And then down the road, shit, my kids, my grandkids, their grandkids, and so on and so forth, I have this maybe to stumble across and learn a lot about me, from the bottom up, good or bad. And it is what it is. But with that, peace. Y'all be good. Stay strong. Deep fucking breaths. Learn from other motherfuckers' trials and tribulations and shit. No matter what the hell you're going through, somebody else is going through worse. Somebody else has gone through worse, no matter what you've gone through. So always keep that shit in mind. Just try to figure out the lessons, baby. You know what I'm saying? Stay strong. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you choose to do so. Like I said, I ain't pressing nobody. It is what it is. In the meantime, in between time, stay strong, baby.